Have you ever just stopped and wondered what was the absolute greatest turning point in human history? Like if you had to pinpoint the single most important shift that literally made the modern world possible, what would it be? You might be thinking of the Industrial Revolution, or maybe the invention of the printing press, or hey, even the creation of the internet. But to find the real answer, the ultimate catalyst that set absolutely everything else into motion, we actually have to go way, way back. Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking humanity's most profound and lasting shift, the Neolithic Revolution. This is the era where humanity learned a very simple but totally world-altering trick: how to just stay in one place. And trust me, once you see how this one single change triggered a massive domino effect of human progress, you are never going to look at history the same way again. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with what a revolution actually is, look at the nomadic lifestyle, dive into the farming breakthrough, explore the building blocks of a civilization, and then wrap the whole shebang up with an interactive quiz. Part 1. What is a revolution? Let's take a second to understand these massive historical turning points. Revolutions are the great turning points of history. By definition, a revolution is a tumultuous and transformative event that attempts to change a nation, a region, a society, and in some cases, the entire world. We aren't just talking about some minor, everyday upgrade to human life here. We are talking about a complete, irreversible rewiring of how humans interact with the planet and, honestly, with each other. Moving right along to Part 2, the nomadic lifestyle. This is what life looked like before the big breakthrough. Picture this. For roughly 2 million years, early humans were completely nomadic hunters and gatherers. Their entire existence revolved around constant movement just to find their next meal. Now, they definitely weren't primitive in their minds. Some of these hunting and gathering bands were incredibly advanced. They developed complex languages, they mastered fire, invented basic tools, and even created some absolutely incredible cave art. But here's the catch. They were never able to develop complex societies simply because they always had to migrate. I mean, you can't exactly build a massive, thriving metropolis if your entire society has to pack up and follow a mammoth herd every couple of weeks, right? Which brings us to Part 3, the farming breakthrough, marking the dawn of agriculture. Look at the stark contrast here. It's basically a before and after picture. On one side, we've got our Paleolithic nomads, constantly migrating around in small hunting and gathering bands. But on the other side, we have our Neolithic settlers. Instead of chasing their food, they actually learned to domesticate plants and animals for their own use. This allowed them to build permanent farming villages, usually right along river valleys, because, well, the soil there was fantastic for irrigation. They essentially went from merely surviving off the land to actively cultivating it, a real game changer. So let's track this on a timeline to put it into perspective. For 2 million years, nothing but hunting bands. Then, right around 8000 BC, boom! The farming breakthrough hits. And the result? A massive, unstoppable domino effect. Farming produces food surpluses. Suddenly, humans have more calories than they literally know what to do with. And food surpluses lead directly to huge population increases. Because of that booming population, by 3000 BC, we start seeing the rise of actual specialized cities. Now for Part 4, building a civilization. And the 5 key characteristics that make one up. All right, characteristic number 1, advanced cities. Civilizations absolutely must have cities, but we aren't just talking about overgrown villages here. They are vital, beating centers of trade for massive areas. Take a look at the sheer scale of Uruk. This was a bustling economic hub of 50,000 people. And get this, it managed to double its population in just 2 centuries. Other cities nearby, like Lagash and Umma, also boasted populations well into the tens of thousands. Characteristic number 2 is advanced technology. Think about it. Once people stopped running around chasing their food all day, they actually had the time to sit down and invent things. By around 3000 BC, we see the wheel, the plow, and the sailboat entering everyday use. And as you can see, technologies like the wheel and bronze armor gave groups like the Sumerians massive, undeniable military advantages over their enemies. Next up, number 3, record keeping. When a society grows to tens of thousands of people, all trading goods and paying taxes, human memory just isn't going to cut it anymore. Civilizations absolutely require writing. Look closely at these cuneiform tablets. They were used to meticulously keep track of business transactions, record historical events, log traditions, and write down incredibly complex systems of laws. This brings us to a huge one, characteristic number 4, specialized workers. Because one single farmer could now produce enough surplus food to feed multiple people, not everyone had to be a farmer anymore. This freed up individuals to specialize in totally different professions. Suddenly you have merchants, teachers, metalworkers, government officials, priests, potters, scribes, you name it. This diverse specialization actually created the very first true class systems in human history. And finally, the 5th characteristic, complex institutions. If you have a densely packed city full of specialized workers with advanced tech and property to protect, you need some serious order to prevent total chaos. Civilizations must have formal governments with officials and laws. They developed organized religions where priests often held massive political power, right alongside rigorous education systems strictly designed to train those scribes. These complex institutions were the glue that held society together, and honestly, they're the exact same foundational structures that run our modern world today.
All right, part 5, the interactive quiz. It is time to test your knowledge. Let's see how much of this actually stuck. Question number 1. The Neolithic Revolution is also commonly known as the A. Paleolithic Era, B. Stone Age, C. Agricultural Revolution, or D. Prehistoric Revolution. Think back to what we said was the absolute core requirement of this whole era. Got your guess ready?
And the answer is C, the Agricultural Revolution. Remember, while their tools were still made out of stone, it was the domestication of plants and animals that truly defined this wildly transformative time. Great job if you nailed that one. Let's look at the next. Okay, question 2. During the Neolithic Revolution, the production of a food surplus led directly to what? A. A nomadic lifestyle, B. A reliance on stone weaponry, C. An increase in population, or D. A dependence on hunting and gathering. Think about our domino narrative here. What happens when you suddenly have an absolute abundance of calories? The answer is C, an increase in population. That extra food was the fundamental prerequisite for everything else. More food meant larger families could survive, and communities could blow up from tiny bands into massive, thriving villages. All right, last one. Let's see if you can go 3 for 3. Think back to those 5 pillars of civilization we just discussed. Which characteristic best fits with the concept that people worked jobs they could do best? Is it A, a decline of cities, B, specialized workers, C, less trade, or D, reduced population? If you guessed B, specialized workers, you are absolutely right. Because of that huge food surplus we just talked about, people like the potter you see right here were free to dedicate their entire lives to perfecting a single craft, ultimately building the diverse class systems that define the very first civilizations. Congratulations on crushing the challenge. So we've seen how learning to plant a seed and tame an animal was a tumultuous, transformative event that fundamentally changed the world forever. It was our first true great revolution. But, history isn't just about looking backwards. It's a powerful lens for viewing today. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. If the shift to farming fundamentally rewired our species millennia ago, what modern breakthroughs, right now, today, are quietly setting the stage for humanity's next great revolution? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the world around you.